Good morning, everyone. So we continue with our classes on nuclear physics. We were at the topic of nuclear decay. What does nuclear decay imply? The nuclear is basically composition or nature of nucleus changes. And there are three types of decays. One is alpha decay. Alpha decay, it emits an alpha particle, nucleus of helium. That's called alpha decay. And there's a beta decay. In beta decay, we have come across two kind of decay. One case, neutron gets converted into proton by emitting a beta minus particle, which is anti-particle of electron. And there's also beta plus decay. Beta plus decay, the particle which is emitted is, one is beta plus decay. In that case, a positron is emitted, which is anti-particle of electron. So beta decay, there are two types of them are there. And there's something similar to beta decay. There's one more thing called electron capture. Normally, it is not taken a separate type of decay. It's also somewhat similar to beta decay. So let's understand what is electron capture. In case of electron capture, as the word indicates, is the capture of electron. What does it imply? Orbiting electron is captured by the nucleus. The nucleus capture one of the atomic electron, and most cases the nearest electron is in the K shell. But it's not necessary that it captures only K shell electron. It can capture some other shell electron also. So when it captures, what would happen? So can you imagine what will happen if a nucleus captures K shell electron? In case of beta decay, we have come across two kind of decay. What were the two kind of decay? One case, neutron getting converted into proton. And when gets converted to proton, since the charge has to balance something like this. And second case, a proton getting converted into neutron. When proton gets converted, this positive charge comes in cause of positive. So do you think anybody can see that one, if we capture electron, what would happen within the nucleus? What has to happen in terms of, would it remain as an electron inside the nucleus? Inside the nucleus, electron cannot remain. So what has to happen if it captures electron? It has to combine with one of the nucleon and convert into some other form of nucleon. So what kind of combination will take place? I think this is not too difficult to imagine. One electron gets captured. This electron, which has negative charge, combines with a proton and it converts into a neutron. That's what electron capture is, and it also leads to, what is this term called? We have come across two things here. One is sign like this, which is neutrino, and there's something anti-particle neutrino, which is indicated by bar. So in this case, what gets emitted is a neutrino. So is it something very different? What we notice here, this has a lot of similarity with beta decay. And let's compare with this. So if we have compare with beta plus decay, this is what beta plus decay is. In proton gets converted into neutron. In beta plus decay, if I shift this one in the equation, if I transfer from this side to this side, I get exactly the same. So what I notice here is similar to beta decay. This kind of is similar to beta plus decay, but it is in terms of, that's why here also we have a neutrino emission. Here also we have neutrino emission. So one way we can think of it is has similarity with beta plus decay. And one more thing we can think, whenever an inner orbital electron is captured, of course it will create a vacancy. And whenever there's a vacancy in a orbit at a lower state, at a lower energy state, if there's a vacancy, that vacancy will be filled up by transition of electron from higher orbit. And when the transition takes place, there's emission of this EM radiation. In case of whenever electron capture happens, it leads to a vacancy in one of the inner orbit, and that vacancy is filled up by X-ray emission due to transition of electron from the higher orbit. Otherwise, no mathematical equation. So we have come across two types of decay. What are two types of decay? Alpha decay and beta decay. And beta decay also is plus and minus. And we have seen decay doesn't necessarily happen in one step. It happens in multiple steps. The reason why it happens in the multiple step, you see, let's take case of a very common case we take also of uranium. So even after decay, it forms some other compound which itself is again not stable. So if there's an intermediate state, so the decay, and then further and further and further, and this kind of decay process continues till it transforms itself into an element which is stable, which in this case is lead. This is and the sequence in which the decay takes place, you would have seen in case of chemistry also. Many times there are several competing reaction mechanisms. The different ways reaction can take place, and different condition, different reactions are favored. Here also the decay can take place from uranium to final steady state is lead. This is not the only way the decay may take place. It may take place in different order. So here we have given one particular order, alpha followed by beta minus. So, and very easy to understand here, alpha, immediately can notice here, this becomes -4, this becomes -2. Beta minus decay leads to +1 here. Again, beta -1, again it has led to +1. Then again, alpha decay, this becomes -2. Then again, beta, and so like this it continues, and several kind of decay continues. So what we need to be aware of, unstable nucleus, it decays, but the decay does not necessarily lead to stable state. The decay may continue. There may be sequence of decay. So that is alpha decay. Beta decay, there are two types, plus electron capture. And third kind of all of you must be familiar with is we call gamma decay. In case of gamma decay, to understand gamma decay is something similar to transition of electron in hydrogen-like atom. In case of hydrogen-like atom, all electron orbits have what he calls energy is quantized, and energy has a discrete quantity. Discrete quantity means it is not continuous. There are certain values like -13.6. Then in case of hydrogen atom, next one is -3.4. So if something like this is called discrete quantity, there are some well-defined values. There is no continuous value in between. So in case of orbiting electron, the way the energy levels are, allowed energy levels are not continuous. Allowed energy levels have steps. There's a step-like thing, or there's a discrete quantity. Similar way, even nucleons also have discrete quantum state, and similar to electron, they also have minimum energy state, which can be called as ground state. So nucleons also have, but unlike electron, in case of electron, we have defined this energy states only for hydrogen-like atom. So that is the simplest form. Hydrogen-like atom only we know what we can calculate, or using Bohr's model, there's some way of calculation of what the energy states are. Other complex atom we cannot calculate. It's not so easy to calculate what those energy states are, but they exist. Similar way, even nucleons also have discrete quantum states. And here, unlike electrons, the energy gap here, in case of electron, the energy gap is order of few electron volts. Here, difference in allowable energy states are the order of million electron volts or kilo electron volts. So when the gap is small, this energy can be supplied either in form of a heat, it can be supplied in form of photon, or it can be supplied in form of electric field. Since energy gap is small, amount of energy need to be supplied to transfer it to higher energy state is not so difficult. Since the energy gap is so large here, it is not easy to excite a nucleon from ground state to higher state. To excite it to ground state to higher state, energies of the order of kilo electron volt or even hundreds of kilo electron volts are required, which is not easy to supply by normal or conventional means. But does it mean it cannot be supplied at all? The reason we are discussing here, this is energy is very high order. So this energy gap is large. So there has to be a mechanism where heat transfer can be, energy transfer can be large. And this can happen, so not easy to supply energy of this order or to excite a nucleon. But during alpha and beta decay, quantum of energy released is large. And very often what happens, this energy is absorbed by daughter nuclei. So daughter nuclei will absorb this energy, and that energy may excite some of the nucleus of the daughter nuclei. And when it gets excited, During alpha and beta decay, very commonly, the daughter nuclei gets formed in excited state. What does excited state mean here? It's excited state of the nucleus. What is excited? Not the nucleus. One of the nucleon may get excited. That's what excited state means here. It goes into next or next to next allowable energy state, depending on energy which is released. And as it gets excited, say stable state is always the lowest energy state. Excited nucleons transition back to ground state. When they transition back, similar to electron transition, they emit energy equal to delta E, energy gap between the two allowable states. And since this energy gap is of the order of kilo electron volts and million electron volts, the photon which is emitted also is of extremely high energy. And those extremely high energy photons are called gamma. That's gamma radiation. So what is gamma radiation? Gamma radiation also is an electromagnetic radiation. So what are the three radiation we have come across? We started with something. In case of Balmer series, there also EM radiation. Those EM radiations are in case of hydrogen atom are of the order of 2 to 3 electron volts, which is visible light. And in case of X-ray, we have seen, in case of X-ray, when the transition takes place to inner orbit of a large atom, and the energy is of the order of thousands of electron volts. And since energy gap is thousands of electron volts, photon also which emitted also is order of 1000 electron volts. So that EM radiation is X-ray. Here it is millions electron volts, even hundreds of K electron volts. So this also is EM radiation, but in much higher energy level. And that's a gamma radiation. And do we have any formula for any of this energy state? No formula. So nothing we need to know. Only thing we need to know that they also have a discrete energy state. And gamma radiation happens. This is the reason why gamma radiation happens. Reason for gamma radiation is that some of the energy released during alpha and beta decay, the Q value, some of the energy is utilized for excitation of some of the nucleons of daughter nucleus. And when they get excited, so they, after excited, soon after this, they transition back to the ground state in single step or multiple step, depending on how they're excited, by emitting EM radiation, which is called gamma rays. Reason is called, separate name is given because these are energy levels are much higher. More than that, none of this energy we can calculate, and there's no formula. Gamma radiation, that's all we need to know. This EM radiation emitted in nuclear transition are called gamma rays. In their what order? Yes, the energy could be of million electron volts. Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, so is there like orbital motion inside the nucleus or?
No, you see, for there's no orbital motion. See, what happens inside the nucleus is a little more complex. It's not orbital motion. There's some motion happening, but it's not an orbital motion. But yes, but you don't understand also what is happening. Nucleus is a very different thing. So we cannot think and apply what is happening here. But only thing we understand here is this happens. And how do you know this energy state? Do we arrive at based on the formula? How do you think this energy state must have been arrived at? Just by observation. When we have this kind of radioactivity is taking place, we identify gamma rays, and we measure the energy of gamma radiation. And this is a hypothesis. This radiation can only come because this radiation, in a way, has similar mechanism. That's a hypothesis. Similar mechanism as a transfer of electron from higher orbit to lower orbit. The question comes: is there orbital motion? Maybe there's spin motion. There's exchange theory which works on this, but we don't know what is happening. But all we know, they are discrete energy state. Alpha, beta decay, they get excited, and they come back to lower state or ground state by 1 or 2 steps or multiple steps by emitting EM radiation of energy equal to difference in energy. And since energy gaps are rather million electron volts, this gamma rays also have highly energized photon. There ends the topic. No more than this necessary in case of gamma decay. Okay, so gamma decay, does it alter the composition of a nucleon? No, it does not alter. It does not change, and only energy state changes. And if we, this is a very simple property, we'll come to that. So what are the types of decay? Alpha ray, beta ray, and gamma ray. So any radioactive compound, if we observe around the radioactive compound, we can see emissions come out of radioactive compound. And those emissions may be of three types. As you've seen before, multiple decay keeps taking place. You make a point from same material, we find all kind of rays coming out, alpha ray, beta ray, and gamma ray. As we have discussed, gamma ray is always accompanied by alpha and beta. Alpha and beta decay itself leads to gamma ray. So what is alpha ray? Alpha ray is nothing but helium nucleus. It's a positively charged ion. What is the charge it has? It has charge equal to plus 2b. Okay. And if when the radiation come out, if we make the radiation pass through electric field and magnetic field, alpha ray, it gets deflected both by electric field as well as magnetic field, which is easy to understand because it's a helium ion. What is the energy? This has a very high energy. It has high energy. Since it has high energy, it has high ionization capability. What does ionization means? If it is made to pass through air, it will ionize the air or any other gas. And what is the speed of alpha particles? Alpha particles is of the order of 10 to power 6. Its speed is of the order of 1 by hundreds of the speed of light. And what is penetration? Penetration means suppose we alpha ray radiations are coming. If I place a sheet of paper, will it cross a sheet of paper also? Actually, sheet of paper itself is enough to stop it. So its penetration is extremely low. And this reason also simple, it's a large particle, so it stops quite easily. Then what is beta ray? Beta ray? Beta ray is either a stream of electron or positron, depending on beta plus or minus minute decay. This also is electron, so it follows electron properties. It's affected by electric field and magnetic field. Its energy is lesser than alpha ray, more than gamma ray. So it has higher and its medium ionization power. And this energy we have seen in case of beta ray, in case of beta decay, energy varies. Why this energy is varying? Because part of the energy is being carried away by one more type of particle, which is neutrino or antineutrino. And what is the speed? Since the energy is varying, the speed also varies. And its penetration is medium. You can understand, smaller the size, higher the energies can penetrate more. Now coming to gamma rays here. Gamma rays is not what is composition, it has zero rest mass. It is EM radiation, it's photon. And its wavelengths are even smaller than X-rays. What is the effect? Since it is EM radiation, it has same property of entropy of photon. It is not affected by the presence of electric and magnetic field. Its ionization capability is least compared to these two. It has lower energy compared to these. And speed, of course, the speed of light. And most important thing what we hear is it has penetration. It has largest penetration. So even a slab of concrete also is not adequate to stop it. It will pass through a slab of concrete also. Such high energy it has. And that makes nuclear energy little difficult to control. It sounds little odd, but just even slab of concrete is not enough to stop it. Even if you have large slab of steel or whatever metal we can think of, and that is the better, it's not easy to stop. It has very high penetration capability. And these are all theoretical points, and no, none of them are any formula or something, and some of them are pretty easy to understand also. Where does it come from? Now we come to, okay, what is law of radioactive decay? See, what is seen, even if all unstable nucleus decay. Which process? It could be alpha decay and beta decay. And gamma decay is subset of alpha and beta decay. So predominantly we are actually talking of alpha decay and beta decay. Because they only change the nuclei. When we talk about, so suppose a number of radioactive nuclei are present. How many of them will decay in time? So let's take, if we have there n number of nuclei which are present, how many of them will decay and which one of them will decay? So first thing, I think all of you would have, since you already studied this topic, have you done this topic in chemistry already? Vignesh, have you done this topic in chemistry?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have done this topic. So people are already expert. I think they should have told me that. Why wasting time? Okay. So what are the things we need to know in case of law of radioactive decay? So if n number, even if you take a milligram or gram also, this number is extremely large. Even a small sample also will have a large number. And those you have studied a probability, I think you have not done yet. But in terms of probability, what does it mean? See, law of probability works very well when the size of sample is extremely large. And this also works on probability. So what it says here, if a number of nuclei are present, all of them have equal probability of decay. All have equal. There's no difference at all. We can't say which nucleus is more likely to decay first. All have equal probability. It doesn't depend on when was that nuclei formed. If it is fresh nuclei which has come because of some other decay, there's old nuclei. Both have equal probability. So all have equal probability of decay. It doesn't depend on history. It doesn't depend on when it has been formed. So if that be the case, so if I have two samples, if I have one sample of 1 milligram and if I have another sample of 5 milligram, and if I take a time interval of 1 nanosecond, if a number of decay are x here, should I not accept 5x decay here if it was statistical process? Because it makes very logical sense. The number of decay happening should depend on should be proportional to number of nuclei. If number of nuclei is 5 times more, the number of decay taking place in equal time interval also will be 5 times more. And second thing, if in 1 nanosecond, if this many decays are taking place, in 1.1 nanosecond, perhaps 1.1x decay will take place. And this is something pretty simple. So what we expect here, number of decay, using very intuitive and very common sense, if all nuclei have equal probability of decay, then number of decay should be proportional to n also, should be proportional to time interval also. And then we can write dn is equal to minus, and this is constant of proportion. Why we have used a negative sign here? We have seen many times, whenever the two terms are there, as the time increases, number of radioactive nuclei, if it decays means this number is decreasing. So if these two are of the opposite sign, we have to have a negative sign. dn indicates a decrease in number, a negative sign for decrease in number. So that's and dn indicates a decrease in number, or we can also call decay in number of nuclei. That's the expression, and this term lambda is called decay constant. So from here, since we have two variables, we can also, yes, if you want a value of n, we can always integrate. So dn by dt becomes rate of decay. How many decays in unit time? That's the rate of decay, is equal to minus lambda times n. So here also again what we notice, rate of decay is proportional to lambda, which is property of the material, and second is number of nuclei. For same material, number of nuclei is double, rate of decay also will become double. Okay, so this is rate of decay minus lambda into n from same equation, and both are similar thing. So now if you bring n to one side, we can have variable cell separation, and then we can integrate. What are this? We integrate between time t is equal to 0. Whatever time we choose to at time t is equal to 0, if we know what is the number of, we take corresponding number of active radioactive nuclei. At time 0, number was n naught. At certain time t, the value number of nuclei becomes n. So we integrate, we get very simple expression, and this becomes log n. We substitute log n, and we get this expression. It's a pretty simple integration. I'm just skipping that part. It becomes log to the base e minus log to the base e n equal to minus lambda t. This is nothing but log e and by naught equal to e raised to power minus lambda t, and then we get this expression. What does this expression give you? What is this term here? Let's again look at this. This is the decay constant. And if what does higher decay constant mean? If the decay constant is higher, it means more number of probability of decay of any nuclei is higher. That's what it is. More number of decay will take place, and nowadays, so any instance of time, if initial number of radioactive nuclei is known, at any value of time, I can find what is the number remaining. This indicates number of active radioactive nuclei after time. What will happen to rest of them? Minus what will be n naught minus n will indicate? What would n naught minus n indicate? Number of nuclei which has decayed. So suppose I say n naught, this n naught minus n, this is equal will indicate number of nuclei. nuclei decay. Or this is also equal to, if a daughter nuclei doesn't degrade further, it will be equal to number of daughter nuclei formed. Which is very simple thing. I think there's no need to write also. That's what will happen. So simple expression and very simple formula. N is equal to N naught e raised to power lambda t. And this is called exponential decay. Have you seen this kind of expression before? Which are the places we have seen this kind of expression before? Can you recall which other physical quantity had this kind of relationship? Which physical, Jaideep, can you recall some physical quantity which had this kind of relationship? What is the relationship? I will define this relationship. Number is decreasing number is decreasing exponentially. Whereas we have something like this, something quantity which decreases exponentially.
In damped oscillations, I think.
That's it. Okay, damped oscillation amplitude. Basically, amplitude after time t is equal to E naught e raised to power minus some constant into t. What was the term there? What was the term gamma was there? What do anybody recalls what is gamma there?
B by 2m.
B by 2m. No. That's one. Where else we had this kind of thing?
Current in RC circuit.
Current in RC circuit. I also, in case of RC circuit, current in RC circuit was I naught e raised to power minus P by tau. This also something limited. Where else we had one more place? We had this
Discharging of capacitors.
this discharging of capacitor, Q is also equal to Q naught e raised to power minus
T by tau.
And so we have something similar. So some questions are formed drawing a parallel between this. Okay. So so only thing what is changing, the parameters are changing, but nature remains same. And whatever properties of negative exponential function are valid in this case are also valid in all cases. All cases, which property we can use? We can use the property of negative exponential function. And that's what half-life is about. A negative exponential function. And whatever property we observe here, those things are valid in all cases which had some other physical quantities. Thus N is equal to N naught. And if I plot this graph, so at various value of t, and this is something like for uranium. And this, if we take uranium, also is a radioactive compound. Radioactive compound means is unstable. Anything we say radioactive, it is radioactive means it is likely to undergo radioactive decay. Its number is going to decrease as it keeps decaying. So if we have radioactive percentage remaining, see what you notice here, something like this. Here we're talking about time in millions of years. What is it by about what time? So whatever number we had, suppose when uranium-235 was formed when Earth was formed. Suppose a new planet gets formed. A new planet will have, see, any planet will have different material, different combined form or basic elements. If new planet will form, the planet also has some freshly minted uranium. And okay, so it has certain quantity of uranium. After how much time the quantity of uranium present on the planet will drop to 1/10 of its initial value? So they say 1/10 basically mass, what how many years it will drop to 1/10? This is what this graph indicates. This graph indicates what? Around after roughly about 2,500 million years, the number of uranium will become 1/10 of uranium present at the time of formation of the planet. That's what this kind of curve means. What can change this number? If some other chemical, other nuclear process, you all understand, an element can be changed only by which process? Only by nuclear process. Otherwise, element can combine. That's a chemical process. Combination of element calling molecules, finding different compounds. Basic element not happen during. Basic element does not change in the chemical process. How would element change? It changes only by alpha decay and beta decay. If uranium is not a daughter element of a decay process, it means it has to be freshly formed. And when does it freshly form? It gets freshly formed only when you can talk about, yes, how the whole system was created. Big Bang theory kind of. See, this is the curve indicate, and what does it indicate here? It takes a long time. So for this kind of thing, do you expect lambda to be high or lambda to be low? If it is taking long time, it means rate of decay is slow. If rate of decay is slow, dn by dt is equal to lambda. So what is making rate of decay slow? Lambda is small. Any small lambda, it takes long time to decay. These curves are making some sense, Bhavishri? The curve looks interesting or not so much? You find anything interesting in the curve? Bhavishri? Nothing interesting, okay. I thought you would say at least you like the purple color. If not the shape, okay, the color looks nice. I thought whether this color also nice. And second thing, see, I hope some of you understand what I'm saying. You follow what I was saying here. Just what have you followed?
Sir?
Did you follow? Did you find something interesting about the curve?
Yes, sir.
What is interesting to find?
I find that as time passes, the amount which is remaining keeps on decreasing.
Keeps on decreasing. And so what will happen? So suppose what will happen after say about 10,000 million years? What will happen to presence of this compound on that planet?
It will be critically low.
Small.
Yes, sir.
And what this is happening in case of uranium.
Right.
But it will keep depleting. What can replenish this particular compound or this particular element on any planet? How can it be replenished? Something originally present, and it is keep declining. How can we replenish? What is the way to replenish it? Understand, all of you understand the word of meaning of what replenish? What can replenish it? Just can
Another
you think
nuclear
of
process.
Another higher element should.
Other nuclear
yeah,
process
another
for which this has to be a daughter element.
Daughter. Yes, sir.
Then only it can replenish. If it is not, then what happens? This quantity will keep dwindling, and unless we find an artificial process, it will keep changing. And these are the kind of things which have been used to estimate the life of planet and rocks and all. Does it make some sense now? What will happen? Suppose this decay, and we can analyze how much time has elapsed. I'll come to that point later. Have you done? I think when you've done this topic, have you done something on carbon dating? Something
Yes.
called carbon dating. You understand what is carbon dating? Vignesh, you said yes. You understand what is
Yes,
carbon
sir.
dating?
Yes, sir, a little.
Little. Okay. So what is carbon dating? Is it something based on this kind of principle? So
Yes,
if
sir, we
we
measure the
understand this curve, something like this, maybe we'll come to that part also later. So we understand from here. And other thing what we notice, I'll come to some more property of this. So we'll come to, this is the curve. What kind of curve is this? It's a negative exponential curve. So whenever you have any curve, anything which is e raised to power minus something, the shape of curve will always be same. Shape of curve will be same. And we'll come to some more property. And this one property I mentioned earlier also, and some of you might recall. If not, again, we'll stress on the property, which is the property of negative exponential curve. Let me see. I hope all of you can see. I have drawn a box, and this has certain. What does this indicate? Width of these two lines indicate time interval. What is special happened in this time interval? At the beginning of time interval, if original number was 100, it has dropped to how much? It has dropped to 70. In this time, during this time interval, what proportion of original value of uranium nuclei have decayed? 30% have decayed. From 100, it has become 0.7. So end of the interval, if I call beginning of value A and value B. So what is B by A equal to? B by A is equal to nothing but N by N naught. This is for that interval. How much that comes equal to? That is equal to 0.7. Okay, this is equal to 0.7. Is this understood, Shreya? Are you following so far?
Yes, sir.
This width, so if this is the width they have taken. So if I take, this is the B number, this B indicates, that's what N means. And what is T here? T is this time interval, delta T. And so suppose I draw one more something like this. Here also what I have drawn in such a way, this also is equal. This width, this time interval is equal to this time interval. And let's say up to this point, this height is C and this height is D. What we know from property of exponent curve, I will not prove it again, but what is say B by A, which is ratio at the end of this interval divided by beginning of interval, is same as equal to what? B by C. So here also, if we look at this, at the beginning of interval, this was 50. What would be the value at end of the interval? Looks like 35. Again, the same ratio. So whatever this becomes, if I set my clock 0 as a t equal to 0 here, this becomes my initial number, and this becomes my final number in a time interval delta t, which is same as before. Similar way, if I take one more shape here, what is shape I have taken? Again, I have drawn exactly, both have all same width. And this number is 20. And so this is E and this is F. What has to be F by E equal to, F by E is equal to, has to be equal to. So this quantity by this quantity, this ordinate by this ordinate, equal to this ordinate by this ordinate, is equal to this ordinate by this ordinate. So anywhere if I take equal time interval, the ratio of these ordinates will always come equal to 0.7 as it is coming here. That's the property of exponential curve. Shreya, have you followed something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a property we use, and that's something similar we use in case of half-life also. So, and this property very easily we can prove using exponent function. Okay, that's one part. And second thing, we'll also discuss something about half-life. From this graph, this is 100. From this graph, how many of you can tell me what is the half-life here? Since you are done in chemistry, you have done this topic already. So some of you should be able to answer this question. What is the half-life of uranium based on this graph? Can anyone tell me? And how would you find the half-life? Anyone? What is the half-life here? What does half-life imply? Some of you have done this topic. What does half-life mean? Deep, you have done half-life before?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall about what half-life is?
It's the time taken for half of the material to get decayed, sir.
Decay. Now, so can you find the value of half-life from this graph here?
X
So
coordinate when the thing is 50.
No, so basically half-life corresponds to, this is the 100, the time for it drop to 50. So what does this mean? Half-life means only half the original number has remained. So what will the half-life? The t value corresponding to 50, this is your half-life. This value, this is, you can write as t1 by 2, or sometimes you write as t. This is half-life. And so this half-life, this will come to that later on. Very simple terms. So there are two terms which are important here. One we have come across, first thing what we have done, we can find the number of active nuclei after any time t if initial number and decay constants are given. This is a simple mathematical expression. Second thing, this term called activity. Activity is a number of decay per unit time. And we already come d by dt. Here we are talking number of decay. So we are only concerned with magnitude. We know that it is going to decrease. That's why we don't use negative sign here. Rate of decay. We can use various notation. Sometimes you use R term, you can use A term, doesn't matter. But this is dN by dt, the rate of decay per unit time. And this value is, so we can have average or instantaneous. We are talking about instantaneous value, dN by dt, is equal to lambda into n. So that's the previous formula you can come across. And unit for activity is either we use a unit, SI unit is Becquerel. Becquerel is number of disintegration per second. But this number, even for compound which has very low value of lambda, since n values are extremely high, n values are typically order of 10 to the power 20 and even more. So this becomes high. So Becquerel yields a very high number of activity. So there's another unit which is common. I will come to that also, Curie. So what does activity mean? Activity is dN by dt. Okay, so what is the initial activity? Initial activity time t is equal to 0. It will lambda times the initial number of radioactive compound, initial nuclei number. So A naught initial activity is lambda into naught. What is the activity after time t? Activity time t will be equal to lambda times number of active compound at time t. And what is the number of active compound after time t? We have divided earlier this n naught into e to the power minus lambda t. This becomes value. So what do we get from here? If I look from both the things, activity after time t is equal to initial activity into e raised to the power minus lambda t. Since activity is proportional to number of radioactive nuclei, it has similar relationship as n relationship. So you notice this relationship, activity decreases, this also decreases. same exponential decay. So this formula is very similar to N formula. We just in place of N, we replace A, we get activity. Activity also, so after half-life, this number becomes half, and after one life have, activity also becomes half. After two half-life, this number becomes 1/4. Activity also becomes 1/4. What is the significance of activity becoming 1/4? Or what is the significance of activity getting smaller? So those who have seen, this is something, again, I think I have asked this question before, and I'm asking this question again. How many of you seen the TV serial Chernobyl? How many have seen the TV series? The TV serial is very popular and a very highly rated TV serial. So can you raise your hand? How many have seen the TV serial Chernobyl? Vikram? Very
Yes,
few
sir.
hands. Huh? Very few of you seen the TV serial? Okay, then I think cannot talk about. Okay. What does it mean? When we talk about what we understand, first thing, just try to understand importance of activity. Let's first understand in case of radioactivity. What happens? Radioactivity generates some radiation. What are the radiation which are generated? Alpha particle. It generates beta particle. It also generates gamma rays. What happens if I encase the whole thing in a concrete vessel? If the radioactivity is taking place inside the concrete vessel, which of the three will come out of the concrete vessel here? Which will come out if it is a concrete vessel? Which will it come out or nothing will come out?
What did you call me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. The one having highest penetration power will.
Which will come out? Gamma rays is still, even the steel also will not be able to recall. And how many, and gamma rays, are they dangerous? We know X-rays are dangerous. Just imagine how dangerous gamma rays are. If it can penetrate, and they are so powerful, and even this something, those are dangerous CVT. If you place a steel tank also, when this disaster happened in Chernobyl, if you keep near the reactor, what happened? The reactor exploded. Reactor exploded means all radioactive compound is exposed. Exposed means its radiations are not coming out. Spontaneous radiations are happening. It's a radioactive compound, and it spreads all over the area. Okay, just wanted to cover it. So just imagine how I'm just trying to, one, of course, try to understand what does radioactivity mean, what kind of energy it has, and importance of activity. So what will happen when this radiations are coming out? Even if you bring a steel tank, the steel tank also will last matter of few minutes. Within few minutes, whole steel tank will collapse. Such is the power of radiation. And what is radiation? You can think of radiation as several tiny little bullets, very high energy bullets. That's the kind of X-ray radiation. As activity is more, what does more activity means? Number of bullets are many times more. If activity becomes half, it means I am still getting bullets of the same energy. Number of bullets which are getting released have become half. So activity, higher the activity indicates more severity of radioactive radiation. If activity becomes to half, it means if similar to intensity, number of bullets hitting me or hitting any object will drop to half. It becomes 1/10, it also becomes 1/10. So activity is an indication of radioactive radiation. Higher the value of activity is, more dangerous it is for anyone. So everywhere, and some radioactivity is always present. A very small level of activity may not be harmful for human nature, a human body, but extremely high level of activity may kill you within seconds. So activity is important value to understand how is it dangerous or not dangerous. And certain place, just to understand here, and whatever activity had at a particular instance, if half-life is 10 hours, what will happen? After 10 hours, activity will become drop to half. And after 100 hours, it will become drop to 1/2 raised to power 10. It will become much smaller. So if half-life is small, activity will keep dropping quickly, and severity of radiation also will decrease. I hope you get a sense of what does activity mean and what is significance. We need high activity when we want to generate power, and we want to have low activity for safety. And activity also decreases as negative exponential function. What is the other unit of activity? Other unit activity is Curie. Curie also done a lot of work on radioactivity, and that unit is equal to 3.7 into 10 to the power 10 disintegrations per second. And I don't expect you to memorize. Typically you will find means whenever they give a question which involves a constant, they will always give the value. Most of the time you'll find that if at all they want you to use Curie as a unit, in mains examination they'll give the value of Curie, but some of you may want to remember, it's okay. This is Curie. Okay, and there's something called specific activity. Specific activity is the activity depends on this number here. If I take a unit mass of any radioactive material, the activity related to unit mass is called unit specific activity. So I have to take unit mass. In unit mass, I have to calculate how many atoms of how many nuclei of that material is present. And even would activity follow the same curve as n value? Yes, because since and the activity is directly proportional to n, this curve also will be same, and this also will have exactly same half value as n value. Activity also will drop to half in half-life, similar to the number of radioactive compounds. Okay, let's take again coming to half-life. Since people know already half-life, what half-life is, and half-life, you can use any notation to denote half-life. I'll use capital T, or some place I use T 1/2, subscript 1/2. This is the time taken for half of the nuclei to decay. Or we can also, this is time after which number of active nuclei drops to half. Both way you can say it is half. So either we can say half dead or half alive in terms of radioactive nuclei, number of half. So this is a time taken, and we can very easily arrive. Let's say if the number of active nuclei at time t is equal to 0 is equal to n naught. Half-life is t. Half-life is t when n naught 2 have decayed and n by 2 are still active. So what is the value of n in that case? N indicates in the formula, n indicates number of active radionuclei, which is n by 2 into naught by 2, this expression. And in place of t, I have replaced, what is this value? When this is n by 2, this time is equal to half-life. And from here, we can easily simplify e raised to lambda t comes to 2. And we come at half-life is equal to log to the log to the base e2, or we can ln 2 divided by lambda. And ln 2 is equal to 0.69 roughly. So this is the value of half-life. Okay, so that's half-life, and this is a formula all of you will be familiar with, and it makes sense. If half-life is inversely proportional to lambda, if lambda is high, it will take less time for half of the nuclei to decay. Okay. It's a very simple expression. What is the active nuclei after n half-life? Each half-life it becomes 1/2. 2 half-life it become n by 2 into n by 2, 1 by 2 into 1 by 2, 1 by 4. And half-life it become n naught by 2 raised to power n. And that's what this graph indicates. This is 50. This is 1 half-life. 2 half-life will become half of this, or 1/4 of the initial value. It will become 0.25. 3 half-life will become equal to 0.125. 4 half-life, so on and so forth. Okay. So n half-life it becomes initial number divided 2 raised to power n. As activity is proportional to n, the activity also reduces half of its initial value in 1 half-life. So same relationship, what is value for n, it is also valid for half-life. This is another way we can write the value of n. This is the formula we had in the first sheet, and this is a number of active radionuclei after time t is equal to n naught e raised to power n as lambda t. What we can do here, see this half-life t value is related to lambda. What we can do, we can substitute this lambda in terms of t in this equation. What are we doing here? We are just replacing lambda. I am getting this term n, not in terms of lambda, in terms of half-life. How do we do it? We replace the lambda here. So this n naught in place of this remains same. What is value of lambda is equal to? Lambda is equal to ln 2 divided by t. Ln 2 divided by t into t, and whole thing is taken an exponent. This becomes equal to n naught e raised to power ln 2, and what is t by small t? Okay, small t by capital T. Small t is time, and this is half-life. And you know this, but this is nothing but 2. So n is equal to n naught 2 raised to power small t by capital T. What did this value mean? This value is number of half-life. We are dividing the time interval by half-life time. And this can be a fraction also. Not only for integer value, it's value for number of half-life, not 2 raised to T by capital T. I get this. So if I know lambda, I can calculate either from here in terms of lambda, what is the number of active radioactive nuclei present after time T, or you can calculate from here also. The same thing expressed in 2 different forms. Okay, rest all is okay. So this in terms of theory, this what we do here. Let's go through some simple application of formula here. Half-life period of radium is 1600 years. 2 gram of radium undergoes decay and gets reduced to 0.125 gram in how many years? All of you, can you calculate? So this is something, again, I'll wait for a couple of minutes. And I expect this is a pretty easy question. I expect all of you to easily solve. What is the number we get here? So 2 raised to power T by capital T is equal to 2 divided by 0.125, which is equal to 8. No, this comes to 16.
Yes, 16.
16. What is 16 equal to? Since it is 2, what is 2 raised to power 4? It means T by capital T is equal to 4, or T is equal to 40. It means it will reduce to this number after how much time? After time which is equal to 4 half-life. 4 half-life, each half-life is 1600. 16 into 4, that's a number. After that period, it will reduce to particular mass. So in terms of here also, we need what is 0.125? It is 0.63%. Okay. 4 half-life, something like this. That's the point we are referring to. And there are some similar question, very similar question. This is all part of your assignment. You can easily solve such question. This is a question. Also read that question. You find this very similar to previous question. Very easily solvable. At a certain time, the fraction radium undecayed is found to be this of initial quantity. This also undecayed number is what? Basically active compound. Active compound is so much, n value of n is given, by n naught is given. This also you can easily solve such question. This question also is part of this. You can easily solve such question. Okay, I'll come to this particular question. There are very simple application of same formula. Let's understand this question here and see what is special about this question. Why I want to refer to this particular question. See, when we talk about carbon, carbon also has its own isotope. Isotope one is C14, and C14 is radioactive. So radioactive C14 in the wood sample decays with half-life of, that's the half-life of C14. And what happens after decay? It gets converted to C12. The fraction of radioactive carbon C14 that remains after decay period of 17,100 years. What fraction of C14 will remain after so much period? Can we easily calculate? First get an answer, and then we'll try to understand what is the significance of this answer. First, let's get this